Look up, and reality presents itself on an incomprehensible scale. Trillions of stars, massive swirling galaxies, and gravitational forces so large they bend the fabric of space itself. Yet this same reality also produces something completely intangible, the quiet, invisible process of human thought. Zoom in close enough, and you find a completely different expression of existence. You see complex biological machinery operating right here on Earth, like the intricate radiating structure of a simple plant leaf processing light into energy. Go further still, past the cellular level, and the physical world shatters into a chaotic microscopic foundation, rapid vibrating molecular structures and quantum fields colliding. This massive disparity of scale prompts a very basic question. Are massive galaxies, simple green plants, and human thoughts constructed from completely different types of substance? Or is every single phenomenon in the universe just a different iteration of one underlying material? Thousands of years ago, early philosophers formulated an answer that came to be known as materialism or physicalism. It is the thesis that absolutely everything in reality is, at its core, physical. The ancient Greek philosopher Thales was one of the first to attempt a unified theory of reality, claiming specifically that the entire universe and everything in it was reducible to a single element, water. While Thales was wrong about the water, his underlying framework stuck. He set a baseline assumption that regardless of how diverse or complex the universe appears to the eye, it all shares a single unified physical nature. Over the last 150 years, advancements in physiology, molecular biology, and quantum mechanics have refined those early philosophical guesses into a highly rigorous scientific model. The modern physicalist view relies on a specific, powerful mechanism to maintain this model. It is known as the causal closure of physics. This principle states that every physical effect must have an immediate and sufficient physical cause. When one physical event happens, we can trace it back to a prior physical event, completely sealed off from outside influence. This traces back to the mathematician Leibniz and the laws governing the conservation of energy. Within this closed loop, kinetic energy simply transfers and circulates between the nodes. Energy is never lost, and crucially, new energy is never magically injected from the outside. By definition, this self-sufficient loop leaves zero gaps for supernatural intervention. If a physical event occurs, its explanation is found entirely within the physical system. When you apply the rule of causal closure to the rest of science, it triggers what philosophers call an ontological flattening. Other scientific domains are systematically absorbed into the realm of pure physics. Take a chemical event, like the combustion of fossil fuels shown here, where industrial processing releases trapped carbon. That localized chemical reaction acts as a direct physical cause for a meteorological event, the measurable increase in global temperatures. The same rule applies to biology. If a meteorite strikes the Earth and triggers the extinction of a species, that complex biological tragedy is ultimately just a sequence of kinetic impacts and atmospheric changes, accounted for entirely within physics. From the fusion powering stars to the growth of a plant, to the splitting of an atom, reality operates as a perfectly closed mechanical loop. Vital forces and independent non-physical realms are rendered completely unnecessary to explain the mechanics of the universe. But there is one final, complex domain that physicalism has to account for, and it resides inside our own heads, the philosophy of mind. Historically, humans have maintained a deeply intuitive belief that consciousness, the mind, or the soul exists independently. We tend to view our thoughts as floating in a distinct, non-physical, ghostly realm. This creates a massive paradox. If the physical realm is completely closed off and self-contained, how does an invisible, non-physical mind manage to interact with a very physical body? If a ghostly, separate mind were capable of pushing physical neurons around to make you move your arm, it would be injecting new energy into the system. Allowing that to happen would break the absolute laws of physics and energy conservation we just established. Yet the interaction between the mind and the body is undeniable. Highly abstract mental states routinely trigger very real physical effects. This split-screen chart illustrates the physical response to an abstract emotion. As the fear graph rises on the right, it correlates exactly with the waveform spiking into a rapid heartbeat. We can also track a conscious decision to move your hand as a measurable electrical signal traveling down a nerve pathway to physically constrict a muscle fiber. Because the mind clearly impacts the physical realm, and the physical realm is entirely closed to outside forces, physicalism forces a specific logical deduction. The mind itself must be an entirely physical entity. We are left with a universe that operates as a completely self-contained system. The human mind isn't a ghost hovering outside the machinery, and even consciousness itself, the very act of a person pondering the universe, is just another physical part of the equation.